You know that feeling? Stuck on the couch, hacking away, nursing a fever? We've all been there. But have you ever stopped to think about where our next big medical breakthrough might come from? Well, what if I told you the answer isn't in some sterile, high-tech lab, but somewhere much, much older?
Right. That cough, that fever, the sore throat, it's a universal language. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, these symptoms are your body's way of screaming, hey, I'm fighting something off. And our hunt for ways to help win that fight, that's a story as old as we are.
But here's where things get really interesting. What if the keys to unlocking powerful new medicines for these exact problems have been waiting for us this whole time, hidden in plain sight, deep inside the world's ancient forests? To dig into that question, we need to go to a very specific place on the map. So let's jump into our first section, Melghat's Natural Pharmacy. We're headed to the Melghat region in Maharashtra, India. Now, it's famous as a tiger reserve, sure, but it's also this incredible ecological hotspot. And for countless generations, the local communities there have passed down a deep, deep understanding of the plants in this forest. It's basically a living, breathing pharmacy.
And this is not some fringe practice we're talking about. Get this, a staggering 75 to 80% of the entire world's population still relies on plant-based medicine. For a lot of people, it's just what's available, what's affordable, or it's about a deep cultural trust. This isn't just history, you guys. It's a living science that researchers are now racing to understand and document.
So just how big is this living pharmacy? In Section 2, we're going to look at the sheer scale of all this knowledge.
Okay, brace yourself for this number. A huge review of the ethnobotanical knowledge in Melghat, that's just the scientific term for how people use native plants, found 355 different species of plants used just for treating respiratory issues. Let me say that again. That's not 355 recipes, that is 355 unique plant species. Wow! And this natural pharmacy is incredibly diverse. You can see from this chart the remedies come from all kinds of plants. Herbs are the biggest category, at almost 39%. But you've also got trees, shrubs, even climbing vines playing a major part. It's a whole medicinal ecosystem.
And it's not just about which plant you use, but what part of the plant. This is so cool. This chart shows that while people use everything from roots to bark to seeds, the leaves are, by far, the most common source for these remedies, making up almost 30% of them. For a scientist looking for active ingredients, that is a massive clue.
Okay, so how do we actually get from a leaf growing in a forest to a pill in a bottle at the pharmacy? In Section 3, we're going to follow that exact path, from plant to prescription.
Let's make this real. Look at the Indian nettle. They use the leaves and even the whole plant to treat asthma and coughs. Or the silk cotton tree, where it's the bark that holds the remedy. And then there's devil's weed. What a name, right? Where both the leaves and seeds are used. And remember, these are just 3 examples out of that huge list of 355.
You know, there's actually a formal scientific name for this whole field of study, phytomedicine. It's the recognized practice of using plant-based materials for both preventing and treating illnesses. So this isn't just folklore, it's a legitimate branch of medicine, and it's the foundation for a ton of modern drugs. And there is solid proof this works. Look at the story of Ma Huang from China. For centuries, it was used as a tea to help with breathing problems. Then, way back in 1885, scientists figured out the active ingredient and isolated it. They called it ephedrine. Today, ephedrine is a key component in modern medicines for asthma and congestion all over the world. It's a perfect example of the journey from ancient wisdom to modern cure.
And all of this brings us to the big picture in our final section. Because this research isn't just about looking at the past, it's about building an archive for the cures of the future.
The researchers who put all this data together, Khedkar and Atre, really said it best. They see their work as creating a platform, a launching pad, for chemists and pharmacologists to discover and develop totally new medicines. This is square one on a long but incredibly exciting journey.
So, what do we walk away with? First, documenting all this traditional knowledge is absolutely critical. It's a race against time. Second, places like Melghat aren't just pretty forests. They are priceless genetic libraries. And finally, all this ancient wisdom is giving us a literal roadmap for developing the medicines of tomorrow.
And that leaves us with one final and really important question. This knowledge is priceless, and the ecosystems that hold it are so fragile. So as we look to the forest for the future of medicine, we also have to ask ourselves, how do we become better guardians of both the world's biodiversity
and its ancient wisdom.